Bonjour.
Made me realise how there's always a person behind the food, and that's where the beauty is. That's where the story is. When you connect with people who love their land and love their produce, like it's just a different ball game. Like I get so excited by the produce we get to work with. I get so excited by the people, the people I get to meet. It's really quite something special.
Hello everyone, welcome back to Birmingham Food Podcast Breaking Bread. I'm your host Liam. Sitting opposite me is the awesome Carl.
The awesome Carl, that's my porn name.
You got the moustache.
I know, yeah, I've got that whole porn vibe going on now.
You got the kind of vibe going down.
Just need to get some plumbing gear. Or like walk around with a swimming pool, cleaning things.
How you doing, man?
Yeah, buzzing.
Cool.
No, I said buzzing a lot. I say buzzing a lot. I don't realise I say it till people like
a
point it
little
out.
bee.
It's true, like buzzing's a great thing to be.
Yeah, it's better than good. You know, when people say good.
Yeah, people say good. You're like, oh, yeah, really?
They really don't. I don't even know where to start where we've been eating, man. We talked about it on last episode. We're just eating so much at the minute. It's crazy.
Yeah, we eat plenty of places.
One of my dirty little secrets that I didn't really like to tell people was that I'd never been to Bonehead up until about a month ago.
Told you I was losing sleep over that, mate.
Yeah, you actually messaged me one morning and said, mate, I could barely sleep last night thinking about the fact that you haven't tried Bonehead.
Just to wind me up so much.
And I thought, well, if it's that good, I've got to try it. So we finally sat it down and said, look, we're going this night. And we went, and it was even better than I thought it would be.
Oh, yeah.
I thought, you know what, how good can chicken be, man? I mean, I like fried chicken. I don't mind KFC.
Yeah,
I love Chances.
Nothing wrong with KFC, man.
Love Chances fried chicken, but oh man, that burger. I got the double. Went for it, didn't I? Double burger.
Oh, you went for everything, yeah.
And then she says, hash brown and cheese. And you're thinking, who's saying no to hash brown and cheese? It must be mad.
See, I used to all be about the burgers there, and then I switched to the pieces.
Oh yeah, the tray.
That's my favourite.
That's
bit now.
new on them when you're doing it.
No, they've always sold the pieces, but the platter tray's new.
Yeah.
You can still order the pieces like you could before. You get a leg and a thigh.
Yeah.
And I genuinely can't think of a better meal on the planet than eating in Bonehead.
I love it.
It's not a lie.
We used to go Excels all the time. It's like a heavy metal, like goth kind of nightclub on it. With the five ways.
There'll be plenty of people that know it.
People probably know it, and everything was black. Like, and that's basically like somebody was in Excels and thought, you know, if this place done the best fried chicken in the world and like showed like skateboarding and 90s wrestling on the telly, it'd be like the best place ever. And that's what they've done for Bonehead.
Yeah,
it is incredible. The music is awesome.
Everything. It's like the place is purpose built for me. Yeah. That's how it feels when I'm in there. Like if I designed a place of all the stuff I'd want, you'd end up with Bonehead.
Yeah, same.
I've even got all my favourite beers on tap. Like one of my favourite breweries is Black Iris, and they do a lot with them. And that's like, it's even you're there, you're like trying to find a fault, you can't find one.
Yeah, I couldn't find one.
That's it. I can't think of a single problem with the place.
They've even got the free. They've got free alcohol-free beers, which is unusual, and none of them are Heineken or Beck's.
Yeah, none of the shit ones. They got good ones.
And I don't mind Heineken, but like, if you haven't got a Lucky Saint, at least a Lucky Saint, what is wrong with you? Like,
yeah, that's it. It's that good that even stuff like that, they must have thought about everything. Yeah. Every little thing in there has been thought about really carefully.
Like, even my 7-year-old loved it. She said it was the best.
Yeah, you've been about 3 or 4 times since we went.
Yeah.
Can't stop going now.
Yeah. Another place we had, like, keeping to the black walls, black floors, black ceiling thing. We went to the Wilderness.
Yeah, they're doing wicked stuff on Tuesday nights now, aren't they?
Mate, this idea of just going crazy on a Tuesday, I'm absolutely loving it.
Collab night, 6 courses, 60 quid. It's an absolute bargain. And we went to the little Le Petit Bois one.
We went to Le Petit Bois. Ben, Grafton and I, Ben and Tim.
Yeah, in that kitchen working hard, man.
You could just see the excitement on their face, man. They loved it.
Yeah, you could feel it. It was Great atmosphere. The
Because
food,
they sell out. They're sold out. I think everyone's sold out. Their couch, Eat Vietnam, sold out 2 nights.
Yeah,
And the 11 Slow sold out in like an hour or so.
I know, yeah, you only just told me about that.
Ridiculous. So like,
That would have been
because
awesome.
it's sold out, I think it just creates the buzz in the kitchen, in the dining room. Because it's 2 sittings, and we were at the earlier
It's
one.
3 as well. Like, I think for
Was it
Andy Low and
3
Slow,
now?
there's 4 different times you could book.
I think that kind of added to because they had to get us out for that 8 o'clock sitting. So it was like, and it wasn't rushed, but it
Nah,
was.
there was no rush.
It was nice, you know what I mean? It created a real buzz.
You know what? It's just nice to see like, innovation. It's like he's coming up with ideas. Right, Tuesday we're quiet or we don't open. We'll just get someone else in and we'll do a collab night. I've only got to do 3 dishes. They can do 3 dishes. We can still charge a decent amount. It's very reasonable as a consumer.
Yeah.
And you get to try like interesting, like, because this was all fish. I mean, not the desserts, but but it's all fish, and it was every course was banging. And Alex, all the courses, like between Alex and Ben, like you couldn't put a piece of paper between them. They were so like good, all of them.
Yeah, because I feel like the competitive nature, it wasn't a competition, but it kicks in, doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it's not like the boat night where it's like a winner and a
versus.
loser. It's like it's a collab night more than anything else.
It's human nature, I think, that they want to do the best that they can. They don't want to be showed up against the other, you know what I mean?
Oh yeah, you're not going to turn up and do something shit.
Nah,
so
no.
that-
So I thought that was brilliant, man.
But yeah, he's got loads more planned, and I think that's going to be a permanent fixture moving forward. Them Tuesdays.
Fair play to Alex. That's just,
it's
just an awesome
banging.
thing to do. And it helps promote other independents as well.
Well, yeah, just the people that are there. So, yeah, it's
I
awesome.
love that. Keeping this intro fairly short, I just remembered the whole podcast like 2 hours long.
It's a wicked episode.
Mate, if
And
you have
we
to
have
listen,
spoke about the place. We've spoke about it before on the podcast how good the food is, haven't we?
yeah, I mean, don't be like the 2 hours. But if you have to listen to it in 2 parts, or just have a nice cup of tea, or stick it on in the background at work, this is definitely worth listening to.
So interesting.
David, Taylor, Grace and Savour, unbelievable. Like we said before, I think we talked about it on as one of the intros about when we ate there, and it just felt like we were on the kind of just something special happening there. And when you talk to him, you can feel that, man. Like he's so focused, so driven. He's got a clear vision, driven by the whole sustainability thing. It's just amazing, man. And I think it's going to be a real special restaurant.
I think, yeah, at the moment it's obviously still special, but they're still pushing it to try and get somewhere. And I think when they get where they're going, I think it's going to be a proper destination restaurant for not even the country. I reckon, like as a European, it's like, yeah, I've heard of this restaurant. Let's fly over and try this restaurant. It'd be that sort of level, I think.
No, so many aspects of this conversation. I absolutely just loved chatting to Dave, and just everything about it just blew my mind. I think it was genuinely interesting.
It's
Wasn't
his passion for it helps.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
got a proper passion for sustainability, and so he should. Like, this is the way it's going now. This is the way forward, I think.
Yeah, definitely. So
And if he can do it, and he can do it at the venue that they've got, then why not do it?
hopefully you find this conversation as fascinating as we did. Like, we were mesmerised. I think David
It's just
did
his
most-
career. Like, he's a young lad still, in the places he's worked and the stuff he's done just blew
Phenomenal.
my mind.
It's just a who's who of like 3 stars and 2 stars and 1 star. It's like mental. All across Europe. Talking about like life in Norway and stuff like that as well. Obviously, if you do enjoy this episode, please go and like and review us and help us spread the positive Birmingham food message. Birmingham is amazing. And we're trying to tell as many people about how amazing it is, and tell them all about the cool people who are involved with the Birmingham hospitality scene. So please just go and do that for us, and we'll love you forever. Ladies and gentlemen, David, Grace and Savour. David, massive thank you for inviting us down to, I don't know, beautiful's just not a good enough word, is it? Like, this restaurant is stunning.
Mate, I want to live in your restaurant. Seriously. It's like,
seriously.
whoever you does the work in here, like, if I had enough money, I'd be like, right, they're coming to do my house, because this is so nice inside.
Yeah, I feel like with this restaurant, I feel a very lucky man and everything's going on. But this is Fiona Unchained, Fiona Hill,
Yeah.
creative director. It's her Unchained. It's been amazing to be able to create a restaurant in this space.
Well, it's just beautiful, like everything, kitchen, the layout. I mean, people have probably seen our photos because we've eaten here and took plenty, and I think there'll be some more photos from this that we'll put up. And like, you gotta, it's just an interior. It's beautiful, absolutely beautiful. And that's even without talking about the food. Just visit the place. It's just nice to look at.
But we'll start where we always kind of start. You didn't just wake up and all of a sudden appear in this amazing restaurant. Well, how did you get into hospitality? How did you become a chef?
So some years ago, I was when I was 10. I was big fall in love with baking and always wanted to like keep trying different things and cooking things. Always had a bit of an interest in food. And then when I went to the Good Food Show, like I think it must have been like 2002 or something, I met Brian Turner at the Good Food Show in Birmingham. Nice. And I said to him, I want to be a chef. Like, how do I get into being a chef? And he said, he took me backstage, gave me his card, and says, like, come down to London. You can come work in my kitchen for the day. So I went down to Knightsbridge when I was like 13, and went to Turner's at Knightsbridge, which is closed now, and just spent the day in his kitchen. And I was there. I was there maybe for like 3 or 4 hours. I sort of remember seeing like huge liver, tasted some honey ice cream. We ate tomato pasta out the back. I just like fell in love with the whole thing. It was like everyone. It was just so inspiring.
That's young, that is, isn't it? 13's young. I don't presume you were by yourself.
No, my mum took me down, held my hand. So it was amazing though, and Brian's always been somebody who's just been very generous to the industry, what he's given in supporting the British culinary scene, and he's such a gentleman, and just even when I did my work experience, I did work with him, worked in his restaurant he had in Birmingham, and it's just always been really good to me, and then that kind of instilled a passion.
Man. Huh? He's a proper character.
Well, it's weird. Well, I was thinking, I would have seen, I never seen him as like an adult self. Like I saw him as, I was a young boy looking up to him kind of thing. So I never got like, so I've heard he's a bit of a character, but who that is, I have no idea. All I know him is he was this guy who's like, come down to London, see my kitchen, and then, always tap me on the back and say, well done, David, keep going. He never did anything more than that. Like I tell him a story, like, who is this kid? But he would always say, go on, keep going. And but then, from there, it was just always wanted to. I went to UCB to study culinary arts management because they had this placement year that was like they said you could go and work in any restaurant in the world. I was like, right, this is going to be it. I was sure. I've been working part time for a couple of years in a really nice bistro, like learning some nice things. But I knew I wanted to be really wanted to work on my craft, and I just didn't know where to go, what to do. And when they said like you can go anywhere, I thought, find out, like there's got to be some great places. And I was at the time working for a chef called Campbell Star, he used to be the head chef of Titanic, Marco Pierre White's Titanic. Wow. Like the infamous one that kind of there's a lot of stories behind that place. But he was pretty hard on me, but he was an amazing cook and an amazing chef. And he was the one who's like, you should go to Maze by Gordon Ramsay. Like that's the place to go. If you've got an in, go to Maze by Gordon Ramsay. That's what everyone's talking about. That's the restaurant. I had no idea about this place or anything about the industry or really about Michelin stars. And then I went in there, and it was just opened my doors. I just knew.
What year was that?
That was 2007, I think it was 2007, 2008, something like that.
Was that about the height of the boiling point kind of thing, or was it a bit after?
That would have been after.
Yeah, boiling point was like 99, 2001 or something.
Yeah, maybe.
But it was the height of his, like, that's when like F Word was around. Like, I remember being a part of Restaurant Gordon Ramsay Holdings, and it was huge at the time. They were opening restaurants at Front and Centre. Angela Hartner had just gone to the Connaught, and obviously Mark Sargent was at Claridge's. Petrus has been talked about getting 2 stars, and then obviously being at Maze, where there was a lot of hype around Maze. Maze won restaurant, like number 1 restaurant of the year that year as well. Like it was a really sort of like the restaurant that had been looked at, and it was phenomenal. It was a really tough kitchen. It was the longest year in my life. I've never worked so many hours in all my life. Just
thinking though, but did you, when somebody suggested Maze, did you not look at the personality you seen on telly of Ramsay and think, oh no, fuck that. That looks too scary.
Yeah, no, there was
as a young chef, that's what I'd be thinking, if you didn't know any better.
It's weird. I don't know why. And when I wouldn't recommend it either. Like it was really tough, and it was not healthy for a 19-year-old. Like as I moved to London on my own, it was a really sort of like coming of age moment of like getting hit in the face hard by life. No, because like living in London's tough. Like, I was living in Ealing. No, not Ealing. Sorry, I wish. I was living in Mile End. Literally, like just slid on different scales there. Living on Mile End, which got voted the worst area to live in the UK when I moved there. Tower Hamlets was the area. Didn't really like comprehend what I'd taken on, but just knew this is what I had to do. This is like I had to take on this experience, and if I could work through that, as rough as it might be, as tough as it might be, like it'll only make me a better chef, and it'll only be lessons that I can take forward, and it'll only be a huge stepping stone. And like I say, like as things might have been unhealthy, like the tough hours, tough conditions, the hard taskmasters as they were, like it got me onto the next step. Would I say that stuff has to stop, and that day and age is over? Very much so. And it's hard. I always have this like tension of like, you know, way a kitchen should never be abusive. However, for me, it developed my tough skin. But do I promote it? Not at all. It's horrific. It causes, we've got reason why we've got mental conditions, and we struggle with stress, and the industry's in the state as it is. We've got no staff or anything like that. For me, that build to resilience. And know there's a better way of doing it. But then saying that, like if I'm honest from that, I came away and learned a lot of skills. But I came away and then went to Purnell's because Jason had to be on Great British Menu at the same time, and I just really want to work for Glynn and put it at Birmingham. And then he put me in touch with Glynn, and Glynn agreed to take me on part time, even though that's not what he does. And it was just before they won the Star, and they got to kind of be in that team. And again, Glynn kind of saw like I was a bit broken, a bit like, you know, I was a bit nervous, you know, and he'd just come up to me like, Dave, just put the sauce on the plate. What's going to happen? I'm going to punch you in the chest. So what? He would never punch me in the chest, but his point was just like, just do it. What's going to go wrong? I'm going to get upset at you. So what? I'll be upset, and then I'll be done with. He breathed a certain confidence in me. He took me under his wing and said, yeah, all that stuff that happened was rough, but look what the chef you can be. Like he saw the creative potential in me, and he breathed a sense of confidence in me. And I think 18 months, 2 years later, he made me sous chef. And I remember he called me to ask me to do it, and I was like, I'm not ready. Like I'm too young. I'm only like, I think it was 23 at the time. I was like, I'm not. I don't think I can do it. He's like, I believe in you. I'll train you. And the thing is, that was the thing. I wasn't necessarily ready for the role, but he breathed in me that the skills I needed and the confidence I needed, and like led me in that. And at the same time, Luke Butcher was, you know, he was the head chef there. And Luke was again brilliant with me. He came at the same time, around the same time. He'd just come over from Hand and Flowers, and he had just a little bit more. He had like another year on me in terms of experience, and that was just made such a difference in terms of like kind of just gave me some solid foundations to kind of grow in my leadership. And I wasn't a great leader at the time. Like I reflected what I learned at Maze. So I was shouting, I would throw things, and it was abusive, and it wasn't right. And it was something of I think something that I realised that in that position, all you want to do is kind of you constantly figure out what is the right thing to do here. Like, how do I lead? How do I be a Michelin Star sous chef and like carry that like those standards and like put that demand up there? What is the best thing for them? You know, and I come from an experience where, you know, if something was thrown at you, that was to keep you focused and keep you like on top of your game. But there's no question of like, was that potentially causing mental damage, mental health problems, or was that even necessarily a right way of leading? And that, again, Glynn and Luke nurtured me in that, and not like nurtured me into being abusive, nurtured me in terms of like
punch him.
Like pulling the chain a little bit and pushing me out there, like kind of giving me that space. And like and I think then I remember I definitely got to a place where I realised it wasn't how I wanted to lead and how I wanted to be. And then when I went abroad, that's when it kind of opened my mind and changed my opinion. Like there's a different way of doing it. And like I say, like, you know, really clear, like what that was nothing that Glynn and Luke were ever like that. It was always like how I chose to lead.
It's crazy though, isn't it? Because as a chef, it's not like you really get any kind of real management training. You just work hard, or sometimes you just stick it the longest, and then you happen to fall in. The sous chef leaves. So you've been here the longest. Step up, kid. But there's no extra training on the side to say, well, this is our practice. This is how we like to manage things, or this is how you could deal with. Like, there is set management, like training procedures that will help even in a kitchen, from any role, from any job, from other industries. And it's just mind blowing. It never happens, even all the way up to like you become the head chef, and all of a sudden it's more like a business manager kind of role, and you've had no training in that hardly at all. Like it's just blows my mind how it works, to be honest. But
I suppose your first insight into sort of fine dining, that was more of the rough and ready, so that's probably imprinted on you, and I'd imagine it does have a lasting impact, especially early on in a career when you're trying to forge your own name and stuff. I'd imagine.
Do you have any positives you take away from your early days at Mays? Like anything that you've kept with you? Anything?
Oh, 100%. I mean, like, I think that, you know, the thing that that I always loved about that place was like the food was wonderful, and the what Jason would put together and his ideas, his thinking was really inspiring, because Jason's always like kind of wanted to take a different play on things and make things quite fun. I was even just like taking on the sheer task of a new station, not being overwhelmed by, I remember the first night I got put on garnish. You know, it was the one thing that I wanted. I desperately wanted to be on garnish before I left Mays. I'd done cold larder, hot larder and pastry, and I was like, I just want to do garnish. And they got put on there, and I just was so nervous. And I was just a wreck. Like, I know, and it was such a big section. The pass was like massive. I can't reach. And there was this the hot lamp that ran across it. My arm, when I put the garnish up, the sous chef or whoever was plating, because it was there was like 10 sous chefs there, and then when I reached, I put my garnish up, and he couldn't see. So, where's the garnish? Give it, and you get spoons whistling past your head or something like that. And by doing that, being in that, I learned how to run a section, how to get set up and be prepared, and then I just, you know, also just remember a guy called Bo. Like, so Bo was like head chef of Monoma for like 10 years, and now he's got his own place in Copenhagen called Luca. He's an amazing chef. He's an amazing chef. Even having someone like that stand up for you. I remember one of the girls like said, "Dave, what are you doing? Where's the garnish?" And then Bo was like, "Shut up, sir. What are you doing? Leave him alone, will you? He's trying to get ready." And it's this weird, like, I don't know. It's just being in that at a young age, like you. It's one of those things. That's the thing I'm learning there. I'm learning of being in that environment, trying to like survive, get used to being on the section, getting myself set up, organising myself, taking all the experience of others, and that's what grew me as a chef. You know, it's like I say, the abuse and everything else. That's what I would ultimately say would slow me down. That's what slows you down, because you're then battling that mental the mental battle that goes on. But ultimately, you're the things that really shape you is your craft. You know, ultimately I learned how to run a section. Then I went to Glynn's. It was like, then he could work on that, formulate that. He taught me how to cook, how to prep meat and fish, and how to, you know, and grew at craft. And that's what it's ultimately about, becoming a craft. And touching what you just said about leadership, like that's the one thing you're not really taught. Like, and I don't know, like a lot. I would say, you know, I did okay at school. I wasn't, you know, didn't do awful, didn't do brilliant, but, you know, a lot of, you know, chefs I haven't worked with, like, you know, we haven't done brilliant at school. We're going to be a chef now because we were passionate about cooking, like, and it's also that industry where, you know, if you did what you want to do, it didn't work out, like, it's almost, we are quite a big family, just take people in, and then suddenly you go from learning how to, like, cooking to suddenly, like, leading people, and that's a huge step, a huge educational gap that's, like, desperately needed, and, like, doing it in a healthy way. I think you like, how it is with me, I battle insecurity, like, you know, do they trust me? Do they believe in me? Was that the right thing? What if I am wrong? Is that a good idea? Like, you know, and there's an element of, like, that dictatorship style of bullying and aggressiveness. Well, that and fear, no one's going to answer you back. If everyone's scared of you, no one's going to say anything. And that becomes then a safe place where you're like, okay, now I've got control because no one dares say anything to me, and then I now feel like I've got everyone under control. But that prevents so much. That it prevents creativity. It shuts down people, stops them being all that can be as a chef. I think there's probably, you know, there's a lot of very talented cooks out there that will, you know, and in the right conditions can thrive and become brilliant chefs, but it's really hard because it requires so much more patience. It requires a lot more listening and taking in, and all the while you've got a restaurant to run with demanding customers, a guest, and you know, it's not saying, oh, you got to let the standard slide. You can't. So that's the constant tension of like where I'm with like maintaining what you're doing, but also like being aware of mental health and someone's craft and like they're a human being, you know, taking care of them.
I'm always very aware of, like, when we're talking about mainly when we're talking chefs who just start, when they talk about the starting off in industry, especially at high pressure environments like Maze. But it was also a very different time, and I'm not condoning it or saying it was right, but just back then, that was every kitchen. Like,
It was. Yeah,
that's just how it was, and that's not right. It shouldn't have happened, but that's how it was. You know what I mean? So, I mean, I feel like I don't know how much you beat yourself up about that time at Purnell's, but like, you were a product of a certain time. You know what I mean? You kind of touched on when you moved abroad, then it was a bit different. Was it always different, do you think, when you were abroad? I know, speaking to other chefs who've probably been there longer than you were, but is it like an English thing or an American or a Western thing that we were like, our kitchens were like just crazy?
I think there's a lot of influence from, I mean, it's old school French kitchens. I mean, the stories that come out of them, like it's wild, like in some respects. Like you say, it's a product of a time, and things have changed, and it's really, really important. It has. I just remember, though, when I was the thing that changed for me when I was at Purnell's, like, was that I recognised that my leadership was coming from a place of insecurity. Like, as much as Glynn had breathed, so like it shaped me. You know, Luke taught me a lot of great things, and I was being invested in. I think I got to a place where I didn't feel secure that if they just stepped away, whether I could actually hold that down. And I knew that's what I needed. I needed a finishing school, somewhere to like kind of to like pull on those strings, I guess. And then when I went to Chicago, went for a week at a restaurant called Grace. And it was headed up by Curtis Duffy, that's now closed now, and he has now a restaurant called Ever. It was a phenomenal. I mean, we had entry music. Like, you came in, right? This is entry music that I kind of almost felt like, why my hair sticking on the back of my, you know what I mean? It was like some like, I don't know, wrestling entrance or something. And then you walk into the kitchen. It's just stunning kitchen, the whole setup, everything had been thought about. Like, he had spoon pots where constantly running water, waste bins built into the bench tops. Like, it was just insane. And then you go downstairs, like, and you're walking down the stairs, and it's just all these legendary chefs, like Paul Bocuse, Rene, like just all the chefs from all over the world, just like planted all over there, just to like kind of remind you who else is like great chefs in the world. And then above the steps, above the door, as you walk through, as you got into the changing room, it said something like along the lines of, everyone who walks this door is a part of the Grace story. And you went in there, and there's this huge lounge area with this TV set up and stuff. And then in the changing room, there was like pictures of everyone on the lockers, and with all the names. So, you know, it's your first day, you never have to worry about, oh, who's that? Oh, I didn't know who that was. And I just went, and this guy was just changed the game in terms of how to, when you think about your people. They were doing workshops that you come in and, you know, you get people in, so they're constantly training the chefs. You made them stay and watch a movie one night because he was like, this movie's going to inspire my team. And obviously, if you work, you have to be paid. So he paid them all. You know, everyone gets paid hourly. Everyone got paid to stay to watch this movie because he was like, you all need to understand, like, this is what it takes. So and that's even before I got into the food. And no one could arrive till 1:00. And they had staff food at like 5, and they did 60 covers, and won 3 stars. I've never seen people, because obviously, again, paid hourly, you can only work a certain amount of hours in the States. I've never seen people run so fast. It was mad. It was mad. It was insane. I've never seen people so stressed running so fast to get ready for service. And it was mad that they could do 60 covers a night and that level. And they won 3 stars that year, about 6 months after I'd been there. In his second year, he won 3 stars. It was an amazing achievement, and changed my opinion. And I went to eat at Alinea as well while I was over there. And Alto, Alto was a 2 stars, now closed, and Alinea, which is obviously really famous. And again, all of them kind of just opened my eyes to what else there is in the world. And I had this feeling of like, when you go abroad, that's what changes your game. And, you know, everyone from Sat or Glynn, they've all done it, all gone abroad. And it made me, I really felt like that was going to be something significant. And then, and I really wanted to move to Chicago, but it didn't really work out because of visa issues and not being able to wait. So then Glynn was one was like, all right, go to New York. Like, don't stop this. You've got a taste for it. Go for it. So I went to New York in the spring and got job trials at Atira. When Matthew Lightning was there at the time, it was a 2-star. And then I went to a trial at Momofuku Co as well, which is David Chang's place. And I was really excited. And when I got to Atira, they were like, "Who are you?" And I was like, "I'm David. I'm here for the trial." It's like, yeah, Matthew Lightning had left, and Ronnie Emborg who had won 2 stars at AOC in Copenhagen, had been taking over, and basically they'd shut the restaurant, and they were just doing development and moving the restaurant around and doing everything else like that. So I was like, man, this is a bit of a disaster. Like, I've only got one trial left here. Like, but I said, can I still come and hang out and just do a few days with you? And it was only meant to be one day, and I ended up doing 4 days with them, and that was amazing. And one of the things that I learned there, and this sort of builds my story. One of the things there, they were working on macaroon serving, and there was a girl there. She was 20 years old, and she'd just finished her apprenticeship at Saint Georges, 3-star in New York, and all she'd done was make macaroons. That's all she'd done. And the pastry chef, who was like 30, obviously she can make macaroons. I just got her to come up with to present some macaroon ideas. And it was like one of those humbling moments. Like, I remember thinking, it's like I'd always felt that it was always that mindset that the senior people are the ones who do the menu, and it was that was definitely one of those moments where I was like, anyone can bring an idea. And later on, that would play a bigger role when I went to Mimo, because Jordan, that was something Jordan Bailey pushed at Mimo. It was like, you've got all this wealth of knowledge in the team, you've got to lean into it. And I really felt it was very, very sort of inspiring environment to be around. So yeah, with the Tira, it was a wonderful restaurant. Never got to see service, but got to see some really cool ideas, and worked with a really great team, and they were lovely. And then I went to Co, and Co's a stunning restaurant. Like, if you're ever there, it's so cool. It just I felt so uncool being there. I'm so out of place here. So I just felt so uncool. Like, it was all like graffiti. It's like these concrete bench all graffitied, and all the meat hanging up, and I was like, man, and everyone had to wear like flat tops, and there was no calling out checks. Just people sat down, and the food would just start coming out, and you just basically had to watch out. Like, so I was on the bread section for the evening, just mainly so I watch service, see how things are going on, and literally I just had to watch for when the egg dish went, and when the egg dish went, then I knew it was me next, so I had to get mine ready and then go and present it when it got cleared. It's the weirdest way, but it worked really, really well. And it was so cool because like 6 o'clock first sitting, the guy literally got his fish out, and he would just start filleting it down, right, prepping it, cutting it all up, blah, blah. It was like this show started, right? And it was like, oh, this is so cool. They're doing the mise en place during service. And literally at 8 o'clock, second sitting, it just literally went like in rewind, and everyone just started again. Like, it was like deja vu. Literally just saw they did the same thing, got the same fish out, prepping it all. It was so smooth and so slick, and such a cool environment.
Was it open kitchen so that the customers could see that as well?
Yeah, so all the guests sit around the...
I was going to say, so that was the whole point of it. So it was a spectacle. It adds to the theatrics of the evening, yeah.
Yeah, exactly that. You sat around watching, wherever you're watching someone cooking something. However, I struggled in the team. Like, it was a bit like no one seemed to be with each other. Like, you all seemed to be against each other. Like, it had been a Grace, and everyone was tight. A really tight team, but Momofuku, it seemed a bit disjointed, and the food was wonderful. And like the exec chef now, who's there before, he's now gone, but massive respect for him, and some of the guys there were really, really great. But I just felt this just didn't feel right, and they offered me a job, and it was really hard because it was kind of like you never turn it down. Like, there was a visa opportunity, chance to live in New York, and it's like, this is going to be big.
David Chang.
Yeah, David Chang. Like, it's really, really big. And then I remember this is the moment I spoke to Glynn about it. He said to me, like, oh, look, he told me the story when he turned down the job. He got off a job at sous chef at Le Manoir. And like, especially at that time, I mean, even now, it's Le Manoir, but like, at the time, like, Le Manoir was the restaurant. I think it was the early 2000s. And he just said to me, it just didn't feel it just wasn't the right move for him. He just didn't feel like it was the right place he needed to be. Like didn't know why. There was nothing against the restaurant. It just wasn't that right one. And then ultimately he went to work for Claude Bozzi and did hibiscus, and that very much transcended his style of food and what he then brought to Birmingham. So, it was the right call. And I think then ultimately for me, I turned down that and then went to Copenhagen did a stage at Relay, which was again mind blowing, but ultimately went to Mimo, and that experience, all this experience, is kind of ultimately led me to here.
Why did you choose to go from America to Denmark?
Because again, New York didn't work out, and then at this point I said to Glynn that I was leaving. Like, I was like, all right, I'm looking for something, and he knew that, and it didn't want to keep like dragging that out. And he had all the patience in the world. He's like, Dave, don't worry about it. Work with me to the summer. Like, your effort doesn't stop. You keep on giving. Like, whatever you're learning, you bring it into the kitchen. Like, I've got all the time in the world for you. That was where the buzz was Copenhagen. I'd heard a lot about Relay, how it had been. It was all about sustainability. Again, that word was a bit like I remember doing the Sustainable Restaurant Association award scheme with Purnell's, and we won 2 sustainable stars there. And I was like, but when in the process of doing that, I'd scratch above the surface, and the suppliers would give such vague answers. There was so little like real meaty truth out there. But Relay this is what they were all about, and about how they source produce and how they were thinking about things. So I was like, all right, I really wanted to go and be a part of them. And Pugliese had been sous chef of Noma, like nearly every other restaurant in Copenhagen. You can't open a restaurant unless you've been sous chef of Noma. But he was, he was a really cool guy, and obviously had Manfred's across the road. It was a lot of buzz. And I went there, and it was really cool. Set up and restaurant, really love the food, and they wanted me to go and work at Beast first as a sort of like initiation. So you start off at Beast and then you work through Manfred's and then you come over to Relay sort of thing. But I really wanted kind of like I felt like I wanted to jump in the deep end. And Beast is amazing. It's a pizzeria where they make all their own charcuterie and make their own mozzarella and all this sort of stuff. It's a really, really cool thing. Like, everything is craft related. Like, they're making everything. They're farmers. I've never seen a veg delivery like it. Like, this truck would pull up. I've never in all my life have seen so much produce. Like, it was, you go in the fridge and it was like you would surrounded by green crates all around you, and like, go and get me 3 cauliflowers, and have to stack all these crates off to find the cauliflowers, and you literally have to move like crates back, slide them, move them back. It's like a game of Tetris, like moving all these crates around. It's just insane. But they would just plough through all this produce, and it all came from a farm where they would employ people with special needs and people who ex-convicts, whatever else like that. People who basically could struggle to get work, and employ them on the farm, and then obviously they produce the produce, and they would that's how they make this farm work. So it's so community based as well, and it was again one of those moments like, I can running a restaurant that also thinks outwardly, not just inwardly. It wasn't just a restaurant was like, what are we doing and how are we doing? Look at us. It was a restaurant that was thinking outwardly. Like, he brought that pizzeria to Copenhagen. He brought that amazing bakery and Maribel, is it? I think it's called, and then obviously Manfred's been the relaxed version, sort of almost a Relay, and just really, really great, really, really inspiring stuff. But then when that wasn't really going to work out, I just sent Mima was on my list as well, and I was like, right, I'm if I don't do this now, the next time I could go was Easter, and I was like, I've got to try somewhere else before. So then I emailed Mimo, and luckily a girl had just handed a notice in, and they said, well, if you can come for a trial, fly to Norway on Tuesday and come for a trial. So that's what I did. Instead of flying back to England, flew to Norway, did my trial, signed a contract on the same day, and that was it. I'd even been spending time learning Danish, really badly, and then suddenly, like, my head being in Denmark and Copenhagen, and like looking at apartments and stuff, and then suddenly I was moving to Norway, which I really knew nothing about really in Norway. But yeah, man, Mimo was just was something else.
And how long are you at Mimo for?
So just under 2 years. I got there, I started in October. Mimo was all about taking through the journey of Norway. And there was one thing that I started to, what I really wanted to be a part of was to be a part of a team that was at 2 or 3 star level, and get to understand what that was like, and be pushed by that. Glynn had always said, like, that time of working, not just Glynn, but other chefs had just said that time in 2 and 3 star restaurants just kind of could really shape you, and it was just the great thing to be part of. Luke Gore talked about his time at Per Se as well, and Mima was so crystal clear what it was about. Everything was about celebrating Norway. It's about Norwegian culture. If you had gone there as a foreigner, you'd learn. You actually get to kind of learn more about Norwegian culture and come in contact with the food and stuff, like the ideas he was creating. And then on the other hand, if you're a Norwegian, like, so when I went with my wife, completely different experience. Like, I'd say, like, if you can go to Mima with a Norwegian, like, mind blowing. Like, for Annette, like, all these stories, my wife's Norwegian, and all these stories like came out of Annette, and like, everything from this burning bush so in Norway when we're out in the forest, and you take juniper bush and you put it on the fire to make the fire smell nice. So we had this juniper ice cream with this fermented blackcurrant and a juniper oil dish, the dessert. You put it on the burning bush of juniper. So just like the instant emotion that I saw in Annette's eye, like, for me, I thought it was really cool, and like, this is really nice, but the emotion in Annette when she had that was like. And then he got this dish called rømmegrøt, which is it's what they eat on like special occasions and birthdays, and it's literally sour bechamel. Basically, they take sour cream, rømme they call it, cook it out with flour until it splits. Take out the butter, the butter that splits out of it. They then keep that to save it, because Norway used to be really, really poor. And then you add a load of milk to it, and then a bit of vinegar, and you either have it with and it becomes like a thick, like soup kind of consistency like bechamel, but it's a bit sour. And they'd have it with cured meat, or you have it with cinnamon and sugar, and that's the main meal that you have, and a bit of butter in the middle of it. And, it's so humble. And then Esbjørn's serving it in Mimo that's won 3 stars. For Norwegians, it's like the most proudest thing. Yeah. Like, their dish is like in a 3 Michelin Star restaurant. Like, there's a patriotism within Norwegians which is so humble. Like, they're so proud of the country. Like, if a Norwegian, I don't know, gets voted world best potterer, right? Not digging pottery or whatever. Like, we've got lots of great potteries in this country, lots of great potteries. But if it was like got ranked number 1, it would be famous all over Norway, regardless of whatever they've done. Like, they made the best beer in the world. Like, every Norwegian, have you tasted the best beer in the world? It's Norwegian, and it's not an arrogant thing. They're just so proud. It's so nice, because I often think, as well, as a British person, I feel like it's hard for us to sometimes be proud to be British, and we are good at taking the mick out of ourselves. We're brilliant at that, but it sometimes gets related to being racist, or like we've been pretty harsh on the world. We've like taken every country and then like we've given them back and all this. It's a bit like we've not got the greatest reputation, so it feels hard to be proud of, like, when when our sports people do really, really well, like some actor wins an Oscar, and then on the next day it'll be like talking about how he's been cheating on his wife or something. It's like, it's just, there's no sense of like, let's celebrate people. But in Norway,
a weird thing where we really build them, and it's the same in Ireland. Like, all my family's Irish. We build them up, and as soon as they get any level of success, we're like, oh, fuck him.
He's got too big for his boots, he has.
He's forgot where it's come from. Look at him. Like, why do we do that? We tear him down.
Build them up to tear them down. That's literally what it feels like. I feel like, especially here, we build up the wrong things as well. Like, there's really good stuff going on that we do, and that goes under the radar. I think people have got their wires crossed a lot of the time and want to build up the wrong things.
Yeah, I agree.
I've got a lot of admiration for that restaurant especially, but just to be able to turn around and say, yeah, everyone's celebrating French cuisine, everyone's doing it just like the French did. Nah, fuck that. We're going to do Nordic food. We're going to do Norwegian food, and we're just going to do it to a level where it stands out and wins 3 stars. That's just mind blowing. Like, who stands up and says, "No, I'm not doing it like this anymore"?
The best part is Esbjørn's Danish as well. That was the bit that was like, how do you like you're Danish? His wife's Norwegian, and obviously he'd been there for a bit of time, but he was like a man as well. I've never met somebody who just knew. It's like he knew he was going to win 3 stars. Yeah, there was this like thing in him. This obsessed. There is an obsessive nature about it all. But like, I remember definitely when I joined at a very fortunate time. Ollie Marlowe was one who hired me. He was the head chef of Organic, and he was on Great British Menu and all that. So he was a great guy, and he was there for a short while. But in that as well, I got to work with James, who's the head chef of Adams. It was like great to work with James. Jordan obviously joined from being sous chef at Sats. It was a really, really, really good team, and some great people to be with. Alex, obviously, Alex from Yem as well. Man, it was some really great chefs in there. And then Jordan was. This is what I say when I go back around to being a part of that. It's like Jordan was definitely one of the drivers, and I mentioned Hallie. So Hallie was Pedder as well. I mentioned all the guys because I wonder if they'll listen to this. I want to make sure I mention them all. But Hallie came over from Norway, from Noma, and he's a brilliant guy. So such a character in the kitchen. Had such a bounce and energy about him. He was the one who would be like, we need some energy. Like he'd just always bring it, and he'd say. And they have some great ideas, and this is a part of that. Like one thing I learned about Noma is that never stop asking what more can be done. Like what more ideas. You don't just start like that. I don't know. Beef garum tastes phenomenal, but what will it taste like with lamb? What will it taste like with mushrooms? What will it taste like with let's just ferment it. Let's just pickle it. And it was an incredible team to be a part of. And when Jordan definitely, I think how he managed that team, how he managed it so well is he managed to really harness all of our creativity. Rob as well, actually, who came over as development chef, and he's now got Haku, which is just been voted 28th best restaurant in Asia or something, in the top 50 or something. He's really great cook, and we just harnessed all our creativity and created such an energy and such a team. I'd never been. We were such a tight unit. All of us would hang out on the days off, work crazy hours, and we'll hang out on our days off. We were a real family, and it was just an immense energy to be part of. And mine was tiring. It was long days, and it was challenging. It was it required really focused, really intense days. But we were like a family, and that just made such a difference. And I really felt that was such a brilliant thing that Jordan did in that time, was like how he unified us all and made it what it ought to be. And just such a brilliant thing to really be a part of, and very much shaped. It sort of made that sort of, in terms of that finishing school, of what I took away from there was like I got all this cooking that I got from Glynn, but what I learned from Esben was like, what is the story you want to tell? Like, what do you want to talk about? And just talk about that. There's people doing lots of brilliant things. There's lots of great things you can learn. You can be inspired by all things, but just tell your story and what you want to talk about.
Was this your intention while you were at the restaurant? Did you see the whole time there as a finishing school, or did you think I could be here forever, or was your intention there? This is a finishing school for me. I've still got somewhere else to do. I've still got something else to do.
Yeah. I think I'd always seen it as a finishing school. It definitely rocked me. That was where I was right with mine. I realised where I needed tightening up on how I run a section, how I manage people. We'd have stagiaires. I worked with about 300 different stagiaires while I was there. I learned how to manage a very small team of 4 or 5 chefs, 2 of which might just not turn up the next day, and then learn how to manage that workload into just 3 people, all with very different skill levels. I mean, I worked with exec chefs who didn't know the difference between a spoon and a fork, right through to very young lads who were just absolute phenomenal workers. I had a stagiaire who didn't speak a word of English, but was still brilliant for me. It was still brilliant for me on the station. It was an amazing amount of skills there, but also I got to Mimo, I'd never really opened scallops before. And so when I got there, I got really nervous because I remember going on to meat and fish, and suddenly you had to open a scallop, take it down to the restaurant, present it, take it back up, prep it, clean it all out, slice it, pickle it, then do the first serving, and then get another scallop, start cooking scallops. So suddenly I went from never prepping them to doing 30 a day, and I was just thinking, I'm going to rip all these. And I think the first one I did just split it straight in half. And I'm like, I'm 28 years old, and I'm splitting scallops in half. I look like an idiot right now. I was like, every day I was like, Esben's just going to come in and sack me. I'm just going to get sacked. I worried about it so much. But the thing is, that was the thing I learned. It was okay. It didn't matter how old I was or how young I was. I was learning and I was growing, and it was better that I was learning now than then when I got to. I just used to then think about myself, what if I was 35 and I'd been given the responsibility of a restaurant, and all these things, these questions, these things that I felt nervous at, I just kind of hid them away and just didn't want to learn it. Instead, I was learning them, and that I got to embrace something that I needed to embrace, which was it was okay to not know stuff. It was okay that other people knew more than I did. I read a book called Kitchen Nightmares by, what's his name? Legendary chef. He's passed away now. If you haven't read it, you should definitely read it. Kitchen Nightmares. And he just said, number 1 rule, someone will always be better than you. just
Anthony
accept.
Bourdain.
Yes, yeah, that's it. Yeah, Anthony Bourdain.
I was gonna say, I'm sure I've read this.
Yeah. And he said, someone will always be better than you, and that's okay. And I remember and then that was the thing when I was there, just really knowing there was lots more skills to learn. There will forever be a lot more skills to learn, and that's the best part of it. You never stop working on your craft. You're always going to get better. Someone's always going to come out with you with a dish idea or an ingredient or a fermentation that you've never heard of, and that's okay because it's only going to make what you're doing even better.
Because that's at odds really with, if you know nothing about management, that you think a manager should know everything and be the most intelligent person in the room.
Yeah,
should know everything, and nobody could teach them anything. But really, it's the opposite. They should be able to be. If I'm a manager, I want to be the least intelligent person in the room.
You want to be surrounding yourself.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
And it makes your life easier. It feels like I remember, and it was so after Mimo, and I went through a bit of a time where I was like, right, and I was hungry. I want to do something else. I really want to go to David Toutan in Paris, but the French law had prevented anyone from doing stages. So I was like, okay, that's not going to work out. But I kind of felt like my time was done at Mimo. I just wanted to move on, but I didn't really think it through. Maybe going through a bit of a midlife crisis. And I got a tattoo, so you know how it all goes. It's got the world's biggest tattoo. But the job opportunity came up to be a head chef of a restaurant called a hotel called The Thief. It's this 5-star hotel. It's an amazing place. It's a phenomenal hotel. It was renowned for famous people being there. I thought this was going to be a really cool thing, and I misinterpreted how the role would be. I learned a lot in terms of I have just a whole new level of respect for hotel chefs. In terms of
we've interviewed a few, haven't we?
Oh my goodness, it's just a different bag. And sometimes, and I think as well. I remember, and I've always said this, and I've always had a lot of respect for any chef and what you do and everything like that. But I just remember doing it. We did a couple of dinners at hotels and stuff. And I remember the chef said, "I know my food is not what you do, right?" And I've always said, and I meant that honestly, but we're just in different games. We are in completely different games. The food they're turning out for what they have to do and how they achieve these things is tough. And then you make great food for it's funny, put them in my scenario. I'm cooking for 26 and it's a different thing completely. But it's a whole new thing of management of when you've got room service, breakfast, lunch, dinner, you can't have your hands over everything. It was very much overwhelming, but it was an incredible thing to be a part of, and I really grew. I had to learn how to manage a lot of different things. From I had to be more organised. I had to be more think differently. I was very fortunate. I had a really great sous chef called Tim Wanless, who came over from the Landmark Hotel in London. And he pretty much taught me how to be a head chef of a 5-star hotel, and he would later become assistant food and beverage manager. And it was brilliant. It's brilliant because he as well. There's a lot of things that as a chef I want to do, and it wasn't necessarily the kind of food I want to cook. But I grew immensely as a person, as a leader, and I really used that time to focus on my leadership because that was the place that I could do it. And it was at that point, just in the midst of I was going on paternity leave, which in Norway is 4 months. It's mega.
Amazing.
It's so good. The greatest gift Norway's given me is the fact that I've got 4 months at home with my daughter, because it's just changed our relationship completely. And it was that just before I went on there, I felt like I was ready for a new challenge, and I got in contact with James. We'd always stayed in touch, and he was like, "Oh, actually, maybe would you be interested in Grace Savour, this project?" At the time it wasn't Grace Savour, it was the Wall Garden project. So 45 minutes answer to your question of how I got here.
From what you've done, you've impressed me just squeezing that all into just 45 minutes.
You've done that.
Been enough names there. I don't remember any of them.
It's like one of these things. Your whole, my whole career is built. This is where the name Grace Savour comes from. I can delve into that in a minute, but it was a bit of a reflection, really. Literally, this restaurant is built on the grace of others. My whole career is built on the grace of others. Other people being patient enough to show me a technique and to guide me, to help me. All the chefs in my, a lot I've worked with, whether they've seen something in me or not, still taking that time to teach me something or show me something or lead me to the next place or give you that guidance. If I've gone down in the service, which has disrupted a guest's experience, it's that head chef who's had to go out and take that heat, but then still allow me to then continue cooking in that kitchen. All those things that have happened. You've been late, you let someone down. It's all it's ultimately that all that patience and grace has led me to be able to be here. And then even now, opening this restaurant, I've got friends who, our visa took time to get over here, and there's people that have given helped us financially to make sure that we could still pay rent or find a place to go. Like if it wasn't for them to do that, then I don't know what we would have done. Like I don't know, like we probably wouldn't have been able to come because we just ran out of money and we can't come over anymore. Like James and Fiona to give me and said this opportunity to run this and do this. Like my team like sticking through it's been really tough, with the staffing situation and all the stuff that's been going on. Like it's been really tough, but the resilience and determination of my whole team here. John and Miguel and Max and B and Tamsin and Chris and Max, everyone, Alex, all the guys that have been literally given everything, and Etta, of course, has been given absolutely everything to make this happen. And it just makes you realise there's no I don't know, there's no I in any of it. There's no like one person in any of it. Like I always think of the bands like it's always often fingers around the lead singer, but it's definitely not. It takes, as I say, it takes a village.
So when you get offered the job, what sort of stage is this restaurant that we're in now? What stage is it at? Is it here? Is it even built? Is it ready? Do they know what they want to do with it?
So no, at the time, I think like for James, he'd always wanted to have a restaurant that told the story of the garden and the soil, and obviously sustainability has been something I've been really interested in. It was something that I struggled to get more information on. Everyone was it was very surface level. Sorry, everything was very surface level.
It was a buzzword that seemed cool and everyone wanted to be a part of, but once you really got into it, they weren't that sustainable.
No. Yeah.
It's not easy, is it?
No, it's not easy, and you're always looking for like who's to blame or who's doing wrong, and like why aren't more people doing the right things, and actually just look at stuff and it's like, well, why? It's just stupidly expensive. They're just trying to rip us off. This project gave me the opportunity that James had kind of got me in touch with his sister Sally, Dr. Sally Bell, who is a lifestyle doctor who kind of got discovered that actually through I'll forget one of them. I always forget one: eat, sleep, movement, rest, and breathing. Maybe there's another one. Maybe that's it. That's all the 5. Like literally almost every condition can be healed. Now, everything starts in our gut. That's what she was like saying. Everything starts in our gut. Our gut microbiome is what's causing much of our issues. Everything from an allergy to what's it called? What's the condition? Anyway, lots of conditions. Anyway, and
there's lots of research into
ironically Alzheimer's. Skin conditions to Alzheimer's. Clearly, I've already got it.
There's a lot of research into like depression and stuff like that. It starts from bad microbiome and stuff like that.
100%.
It's that gut feeling. It's they call it. Some people call it I'm not sure if it's some cultures or something call it second brain or something like that.
That's an interesting analogy of it. I haven't heard that. That's a really interesting analogy.
I've been quite.
I've heard it. I think I've heard it off you.
Probably, yeah. Because I did get into the fermentation thing for a little while, and then it's a lot of effort, as you know.
Yeah, it definitely is. Yeah.
This might feel like a backward step, but bear with me.
No, it's fine.
We'll come round. So you said you learned from Malma. The story, how they told the story. How did they? Because for the story to shine through to the customers, it's got to come through everyone, from like the menus, the interior, the staff. Like, how did they tell it to you for you to be able to share it?
I think there's been a bit of a certain romance about how we talk about the food and everything. I mean, he was great at sourcing produce. Like the produce we used to get through the door was phenomenal. And this is a country that had 3% farmland. But what also Esmond got onto is they were great farmers, but no one really knew about them, and they weren't the best at promoting themselves. Like they were selling to like the local villages or something. I mean, I'm not quite sure the whole story, but there are. All the Norwegians who listen to this will laugh at me saying Røros milk because it's an area of where the organic milk comes from. I only did a couple of products and they weren't that big, and then Esmond started using them at Mimo and it exploded. And now it's the biggest organic milk producer in Norway. And another one called Nier cream cheese. It's really delicious cream cheese. And again, this guy, there's like because of Esben taking on this stuff, and more and more people start using it, and it's now used in a lot of restaurants. And Esben really just saw that, and there were a lot of great producers, and he just make you fall in love with them. We'd meet them, like the guy.
I was going to say, did you get to meet them? And it's a good way of learning their stories if you actually get to meet them and talk to them.
Yeah, 100%. So the guy who makes the near cream cheese, he came up to visit us. Our biodynamic farmer, who was he's such a great guy. His produce he'd bring in was just insane, and he would just bring it in. It was always a Tuesday. He would be so in the weeds with mise en place, and he just turned up with like 20 green crates, and there was 9 flights of stairs to the basement. So in the moment there was no fridge storage upstairs. You had your section fridges, but the storage, the dry sauce, is 9 flights of stairs down. It was horrific, and so you just then you have to stop what you're doing, unpack all the green crates all into cases, like laying up all the trays, running it all downstairs. It's chaos, but his produce man was just amazing, and it would just change. He would just pick stuff out and then just bring it, and that's where the romance sort of comes into it, because then also Esben, how we talk about things like it could be. This is like the blackcurrant bush. Like we tell the story that Esben was in the forest and he thought he could smell blackcurrants, but it wasn't. It was the wood of the blackcurrant. And so we infused it into a milk to make a blackcurrant wood sorbet. And everything got romanticized a little bit, and it stopped being like this is ice cream that's made from blackcurrant wood, finished with blackcurrant compote and topped with a leaf. Everything became like its place, its source, its who made it, the craftsman behind it. Everything like on the blue cheese dish, the frozen blue cheese with a pickled blackcurrant trumpet. Like we just get we'd always search for little facts. Like the woman who made Phonics blue cheese, she had an education in the mold that grows in blue cheese. And so she literally just used her education to create a cheese, and it's phenomenal. And it won loads of awards and all sorts. But you could then connect people with the produce, and I think that's what then became so much different, because we got such a connection. I got to go to Sherkanez to go herd some reindeer with the Sami people, and that was wild. We went out at 8 a.m. It was still dark. It was winter. It was still dark. Sun came up at 11 a.m. and then at 1:30. Pitch black again. So the sun went down, and it's just like the sun missed us. It just literally was no there. And then we just went out on snowmobiles and herding reindeer, going around chasing the reindeer, hearing the story. I lost my glove while we were out. And the Sami people, so they're original people of Norway, or a tribe of Norway that still exist, and they have you never ask a Sami person how many reindeer they have. That's like asking them how much money they've got in the bank account. Reindeer is their value of life, and have a special connection between reindeer and the Sami people. Like the wolves know not to go near the reindeer, and if they do, the Sami will never touch the wolves, but if the wolves touch the reindeer, then it's a break in the trust and all sorts. It's a real way of life. They 100%. They're all in on, and they and I lost my glove, and obviously all I can see is white for miles. And he's like, I think I know where it is. He drove off for about 10 minutes, came back and just threw my glove at me. I was like, how did you know? And how did you find that? And I went, all this is wild. So it's weird. I mean, I'm telling you about a guy who went and picked up my glove, but it was so many inspiring moments. It was such an inspiring, out of this world experience to be out on snowmobiles chasing reindeer, having this guy find my glove, and then him come and tell me stories about him and the Maasai people, and how they and how he would hunt wolves, and how his grandfather would travel 3 hours every day to see his wife, and just wild. Then we went back to their house and we just ate loads of reindeer, just did this whole dinner of reindeer and aquavit, and it's just something I'm never going to experience anywhere else in the world. And it just made me realise how there's always a person behind the food. And that's where the beauty is. That's where the story is. Obviously there's this big farm that's producing lots of produce, but huge industrial size things are doing all kinds of meats or whatever else like that. And like I always say, there's no farmer who doesn't care about his land and his animals. He's got pressures. There's challenges, everything from contracts to all sorts like that. But ultimately, when you've connect with people who love their land and love their produce, like it's just a different ball game. Like don't have to. Like I get so excited by the produce we get to work with. I get so excited by the people, the people I get to meet. It's really quite something special.
Well, it gives you an extra level of love for the ingredients you use and the produce you're using. It's funny you say that because it's not about money for a lot of these small producers like that. I mean, obviously they need the money to survive, but they genuinely love their reindeer. They genuinely love their farms. It just creates something different. When it's just for profit, you can feel it's just for profit. It's the worst reason to do anything. But when they truly love something and then they pass it on to you, you hear their story, and then all of a sudden the respect you will have for that ingredient just goes up a notch, doesn't it?
Yeah, 100%. And that was the thing. When I went back to Mimo, that was another moment for me as well. And suddenly I would take down the reindeer dish and I would just tell them all about Shirkanez. And like what we've done and where the reindeer come from, how it grown, and like why we'd use the fat of the reindeer. So obviously reindeer is just like venison, but the difference is because of the cold conditions, is the fat on it. It's just phenomenal. It's just so foresty, the fat is, and but I'm not just saying, oh look, I've been sent this piece of reindeer. That I was telling guests this story, and that just like. That was such a special thing. And Esben as a person as well, after we discovered we won 3 stars, I remember Esben saying, but Michelin haven't even seen the cutlery. Like he bought new cutlery, and that was always another one of those things where I just realized what I loved about him is it was always like, there's more to do here, there's more to like say here, there's always this constant like energy to develop what we're doing and make it even more exciting, even better. And you knew like, in this restaurant, this was never going to be. And obviously, I haven't been to the new Mimo 2.0, but it's 100% just a deeper look into his vision. And I'm sure he's going to have even more ideas because that's just how he is in nature. He's just like obsessive about like let's progress it. And I think that was also another thing that I just learned in that environment. Both in Grace and Mimo, there was this sort of hunger for constant progression, never to kind of go, what am I going to do to hit this level, but what am I going to do to make this better? Just keep making it better.
So now you've got your own restaurant. How important was it that you have your own stories here, so that it's not just a restaurant, it's going to have a story? And how do you encourage your team to kind of tell your story as well here for Grace and Savour?
I think that was the thing that I just touching on when it came to the sustainability part. Like I got connected with Sally Bell, James' sister, who then got me onto this microbiome. Like it's all about the soil and nutrient density, and that's where all the problem is. And we've got to look at regenerative farming. And I got sent a load of words I'd never heard before. And then I started asking. I wanted to contact farmers, and farmers wouldn't pick up the phone to me, but they would to Sally. So this is how I get in. Like I just sneak up behind them. Ha! Got you. Because they've been, I realise that chefs have been just as much of the problem. Like in the sense of we want a certain shape, a certain colour. We've done the dish a certain way. I very much resonate with that as well, because you want that consistency. You want to make sure it's always the same. Like it's different pressure to different people. But that for a farmer, that is not something he can always having produce in that particular kind of way for that amount of time, or whatever it might be. It's just very, very, farming is very, very complex, and I got to understand how complex it is.
Surely you could just go to the supermarket and buy a load of organic stuff. It's just the same, isn't it?
Oh, it's not. It's just not. I mean, this is also, again, like, I always want to be really clear about, like, everyone has their sort of their challenges. So Organic Soil Association are doing phenomenal things. Preventing chemicals getting into a soil is so important. Our soil is so depleted of nutrients right now. We have to eat 8 oranges today compared to 1 orange in the 1960s. Nutrient density level is so low. We're trying to drive, I've always believed that we should eat better meat. It's not eliminating meat, because meat is a really important part of our diet that we can't get from vegetables alone. Because it's not just that the vegetable might contain the vitamin or whatever, it's how we absorb it, and one of the best ways of absorbing that is through animal fat.
It's not just that, but it's unsustainable. If everyone stopped eating meat, that would be unsustainable for the planet too.
Yeah, 100%. Cows and ruminants are like a big part of a regenerative cycle. Yeah. So without them manuring, they can't. I
mean, I definitely believe maybe we should probably cut down on meat. We've said this a lot of times on our philosophy is like, if you're going to eat meat, it's the best quality meat you can afford. And if that means that you have to eat less, that's so be it, you know.
Yeah,
I know that sounds very middle class of us, but
I don't know. If
I'm
I
not
can
middle-
afford it, I'm
we're
on
not middle
budget stuff
class.
at the moment.
Yeah,
That's where I'm at.
I would agree. I think there's something that's really important to say. Like it's less meat is important. The intensive farming is the most destructive thing to our planet. It's really bad. Like I would hand on heart say like intensive farming of animals is destroying our planet, and it's really bad. And we've got to do something about that. However, eliminating animals from like you say, soil is one way we can sequester carbon. We can't the carbon that's been produced, we can't get rid of it. The only way we can get rid of it is by sequestering it into our soil, and we can do that through a regenerative cycle in farming, which is required. We need excuse me. We need animals. We need pigs and sheep and cows to do that, but obviously in that right balance. But like you say, there is this tension where you can't get out pitchforks and picket fences and say like you're wrong, they're wrong, because it might be easy for me to say like, I believe you should only eat regenerative meat, and if you don't, then you're a bad person. Well, but everyone's pockets have different depths, and that's probably the harrowing truth right now. I was reading today, there's 14.9 million people in the UK that are living in poverty, and can I sit here and say, yeah, but you should be eating regenerative meat? Like if they can eat meat, that would be so life changing for them in terms of like the nutrients they're going to get from it, because we're already such a nutrient deprived nation, and so it's so many tensions. And like I think the thing I've always wanted with Grace and Savour and how we share stories, or how we share what's going on with farmers and everything else, is to just speak, just to say this isn't conversation, and this is what our farming looks like, and this is the difference it can be. How this becomes a solution, I don't know. I mean, you've got an amazing thing like community agricultural schemes that happen where you can go get veg boxes. So you think you pay like 40 to 50 pounds a month. It's not the cheapest. It's a bit cheaper than like some of your like current delivery box brands. So it's a bit cheaper. But what it means is if something gets wiped out by a storm, the farmer doesn't lose any business. You get a little bit of less veg, but then it keeps that balance that the farmer can keep on going. Because I think it's mad. It's like 60% of farmers, 70%, 80, maybe as high as 70% of farmers don't make money in the UK. They literally lose money, and the ones that do, like they're the big farm. But then in those same statistics, they say that 95% of farmers wouldn't change their career. They love what they do. So it's like, they're losing money, but they still love what they do. There's these craftsmen out there that have got a real dedication and love, and almost sacrificial love for what they do. But there's this broken supply chain that's going on, which is being in big way caused by supermarkets squeezing prices. But then again, it goes back to, well, if they don't squeeze the prices, then there's some tension there where I believe that the less you pay in a supermarket, the only person who loses out is the farmer. But also at the same time, we want the prices to be lower so people can afford to eat real food. So I don't know. I haven't got all the answers. It's just a revelation I've come to. Yeah.
It's just a race to the bottom now. It's like so many people, it's price first, and I understand it has to be for a lot of people, but even for some people where it doesn't have to be, it's just like they're like, oh yeah, but it's cheap. This is cheaper. Like, why would you pay this when? But they don't see what it's actually hurting. When you say about the oranges, you'd have to eat so many oranges to make up for the nutrients that you. Is that because of that? Is that because like the farmer, instead of sowing so many seeds, he has to double the amount of seeds. He has to do it more often, so the soil doesn't get a chance to get the nutrients it used to. Is that why? Or
yeah, no, it's a few factors. So we introduced chemical agriculture at the end of the Second World War because we needed food. So it was a thing that was desperately needed at the time. We needed to produce a lot of food quickly to feed people because we didn't basically have any. And so it was a brilliant breakthrough. But then since then, we're now using 9 times the amount of chemicals. And it's literally like if we all ate antibiotics for 60 years, like we wouldn't have an immune system. We would need more and more antibiotics to fight off all the disease that goes on. You don't have an immune system. And that's effectively what's happened to our soil. A lot of our soil doesn't have nutrients. 80% of the world's soil contains glyphosate, which is the number one world used fertilizer. And this has been linked to all kinds of conditions. And so, it's massively depleted the nutrients in the soil, which then directly affects the nutrient density of the produce. And at the same time, monocropping as well is something that's very, very common when plant one plant in acres and acres. Like when you see those acres and acres of raspberries, that's destroying the soil. Like the raspberries don't have enough in themselves to protect themselves. They need other plants. They need mixed cropping, and so plants kind of feed each other. So disease only attacks weak plants. It doesn't attack healthy ones. So if a plant dies or something, it's telling you it's telling you which nutrients it's lacking. So you don't give it a chemical. You just plant the right plant in there. So good one is like peas. Pump nitrogen into soil, acting as a natural fertilizer. So when we're resting our garden, we'll put peas out, and they'll put nitrogen into the soil, acting as a natural fertilizer without needing any chemical inputs.
So when you have these fields and fields of raspberries, they make up for the protection given by other crops by chemicals.
Yeah, basically the chemicals are wiping everything out, and that's what where they were so clever, where they were so smart with fertilizers. They literally annihilate everything except the thing that's trying to grow. And like, if you go and see these test fields, like I went to a seed specialist and I saw the test fields, and literally like I'm seeing baby leeks grow in desert. It's like a desert around, everything is dead, but this baby leek is growing out of it. Like absolutely fine.
Obviously, you said that was after World War II for obvious reasons. We needed more crops, but is that still now to keep up with the demand of crops, or is it just purely for price? Or
well, yeah, I think there's your soil gets dependent on it. They try and take it away, then you get wiped out with disease. Your chemical companies will create contracts, so the farmer gets tied into those contracts. Seeds get changed to require certain chemicals. So without that chemical, they won't survive. So you have to then, one thing, the farmer has to buy the seed, and then he has to buy the chemical. Obviously, it gets to a place where the immune system's so shot that they have to start spraying directly onto the food. So since 2006, that's when we first started spraying directly onto food. There's been massive increases of allergens, skin conditions, and now there's this statistic I read recently with the Bio Society in the US where 1 in 2 children have a chronic disorder in the US, and it's one of these things. Like I'm not saying like there's this huge conspiracy like we've got to stop or try and make a big thing something out of nothing. It's just that there's clearly something wrong within our soil, and that because I now taste it now I've experienced it going to work with you, there is just such a difference in thriving healthy soil that's full of life, and the produce that comes out of it is just phenomenal, and there's definitely something's going on there. And I think there's even this year, so between January this year and now July, Monsanto, who own glyphosate, which is Roundup. So if you ever use Roundup, that's glyphosate. They've spent $11 billion in lawsuits from people suing them because of conditions they developed, cancers they've developed, and all
there
that
was
sort
a big study released in The Guardian there the other day, wasn't there?
Yes, yeah.
It was the same company.
So
you learned about it, and then you this was before you started here. You said, well, I'm going to make sure sustainability is going to be at the heart of what we do here. Obviously, use the beautiful garden out there. You kind of set your story, and then how did you develop that with your chefs now? How do you kind of bring them along with you on the journey?
So yeah, I mean, again, my experience is like when I was in Norway, and obviously when I got to meet the farmers, like I wanted our guys to do the same. We've not done as many as we want to, but we've done a few so far. The first one we went to was Whittle and Flame, the charcoal makers.
Yeah, big fans of them. Aren't we?
Yeah,
it's all like good
so interested. And his whole thing, like charcoal could be the best thing in the world for the planet, and it could be the very worst thing for the world. And just in mine was like blown in terms of what goes into making charcoal, how it can be a really sustainable thing, and how it's destructive thing. Like his 15% of the world's carbon emissions come from charcoal production, whereas his doesn't give any carbon output in the production, and he actually stores up all the offshoots that come from making it. And what I wanted is, well, there's one thing I think as a chef is, I've always been told this produce is amazing. Like, I know Garrett strawberries, they're phenomenal. They're so delicious. Like, love them to bits. Great produce. But I've never asked, what farm did it come from? How they grown? Why it makes them so delicious? How is that industry? And then when you start asking those questions to the people who really care for the land and want to see a change, you start to hear so much you wish you'd ask more about, you know. Another good example, we went to go and see Wonder Chocolate, and I've always said, like, we don't grow chocolate in the UK. So I'm not going to have chocolate dessert on the menu, and I don't really see a cultural connection. So I had a rice pudding on, but that's because as kids who grew up with rice pudding, it's a big part of our childhood and everything else like that, and our culture. But chocolate's like, it's just chocolate bars, and I was like, I'm not sure where that fits in the menu right now. But then I went to see Wonder Chocolate. He said to me, I asked him like, how much do you think is the minimum price you should pay for a bar of chocolate? And he said £5.50. If you pay anything less, can't guarantee it, but he's pretty sure it comes from child slave labour. And you're like, no, it can't. That can't be true. But from what he's come to understand, what he's come to learn, that's what is the reality. And that's also another thing as well. Like everything I've come to learn, gladly be told I'm wrong and stuff, or I'm very open to what other people might have to say, because it's so murky. It's so like there's so many grey areas. We've got one. The strawberry, we haven't got strawberries on the menu yet, but we're hoping to when we come back from holiday in August. And the part of the reason is just finding a strawberry supplier. But we've got one lady who we're using now, and she struggles with red spider mite. So the only treatment she gives to strawberries is the red spider mite. So if she didn't, she'd lose half a crop. So if I stand there and go, well, I'm sorry, that's not acceptable. If you're not organic, you're killing the planet. Then it's never going to help the situation. But if I get alongside her and celebrate the fact that she's only using one, whereas strawberries is seen as something that has the most chemicals of all fruit or all produce in the world. Strawberries and spinach are always fighting for number one spot for the most chemicals used. And this woman's using one. That is a big step forward compared to none, and it isn't perfect. But if we don't support her or support them, then how is there ever going to be any change? And I think that's the kind of question we're going to ask ourselves, is like, if we're going to see real change, then sometimes we have to see the truths and try and work through them. And there's lines we draw, but like the number one, if you're seeing someone who cares their land, is doing everything they can, and just is battling through the challenges of the realities, then it's kind of hard then to say, like, you can't say no to that.
How hard is it to kind of maintain a menu when you're specifically like focusing on that kind of food? Like, how long can you keep the menu on for? Does it have to change every month, or?
So it changes. I would say we're on a track of trying to almost do a dish a week. It's hard because our staffing, we're battling a little bit, but I've been really proud of what the team managed to put together. I've got a brilliant sous chef in John who's really driven developing dishes as well, and keeping that on. The boys as well have been great as well, bringing their ideas to the table, because literally things go out of season like that. And we are literally in between end of December until June, there's not a single fruit in the UK. It's all apples. Apples have to come off the tree. There's nothing. So organically speaking, there's nothing. So we were using organic apples up until then, but that's the only fruit we get hold of. That and Yorkshire rhubarb, but that is a vegetable. And so that's the only fruit we've been using until literally middle of June. And then apples literally just disappeared off the face of the planet. And then we had gooseberries and cherries. And then we just managed to roll it out. It's kind of like, because I didn't know what I was going to do. Literally, like, the supplier was like, oh, apples aren't great this week. Like, you have to see what you think. And they were good for juicing, but that was it. But luckily we had gooseberries come on, so and cherries come in. So we put a bit of a fruit bowl serving on. But that was also a combination of using fruit from our garden that also came in at the right time. So it's hard. It isn't easy. And also, like I said, like, if I really hope that we can find solutions so that people can, that other restaurants can try and work in this way and work directly. Because if we work directly with farms, it's much better for them. It's a much better way to support farms. However, it's complicated. Like, we're having to drive over there ourselves, having to pick up directly. You've got individual relationships. It's a lot of work. And then if you're trying to run a big restaurant, or even a restaurant, say, that's doing, a big steakhouse that's doing 100 covers, like, it's never going to work. It's never going to change anything. So definitely don't think we have all the answers there. But
is that where the fermentation comes in, to make the most of every ingredient? Well, I suppose not really fermentation. It's like preserving. It's like a focus of making the most of every ingredient, and you have to kind of do that.
Yeah. We get things very we always just joke about in the kitchen how we don't have capacity, because it'll be something's there and we've got to take it, and we've had to let some things go. So it could be elderflower was around, is there for about 2 weeks and it's gone. We've had really busy weeks where we've not been able to get out. We've got, guys, we either go out today or we're not getting any of it. And so it's just getting it and then just pickling it. And I saw one of our suppliers who works with some small farms, they had black currants, so I just ordered 10 kilos to preserve them straight away made jam out of them, ready for the winter. I went and picked up 20 kilos of cherries from Organic Farm, an amazing organic farmer. He's so passionate about what he does, and he grows things for flavour, and his stuff is just like, it's insanely delicious. And he doesn't always get cherries. A lot of times the crows get them, so he can't sell them. But this year he got quite a lot, so we just went over, got 20 kilos from them, and we've just got some fermenting on the bench over there, some lacto fermenting, some have gone into pickles, some gone into sweet brine, and then we'll just use them at a later date. Because I've just realised all the fruit comes now, so it's going to be now until like the end of August, and then soft fruit's over, and then that's really it in the UK. We'll have apples and pears, and then nothing for 6 months. It's really like, I was like, there's got to be loads of things, apricots, peaches, like no, like the frost, like you learn small things like the frost that we had. Do you remember we had that little bit of heat, blast of heat in spring, and then the frost came? Well, that annihilated most of the apricots in the UK, apricots and peaches in the UK. So it's because of the sun, flowers came out, frost killed it. So getting all these things that is, it's kind of restaurant where we're trying to only source from within the UK, and we've got some stuff that coffee and sugar that we take from abroad and things, but we were trying to tell the story of UK British suppliers. It really narrows us down, but then I really believe that focuses your creativity. And even though it feels very limited, it isn't. It galvanizes your creativity because you just don't have the options. Rather than looking at a table full of wonderful things from all over the world, I've got a much limited table, and I feel like you just get so much more. You can start to think of so much more ideas out of what you've already got.
How would you describe your style of food here?
Good question. It's a hard one to describe, really. How would I describe our food? I mean, it's British food that focuses on the story of our land. But it's weird because it's not like modern British or like it's there's everything about there's touches on the element of nostalgia. I like to keep things in the familiar. And I don't want it to be wild and wacky and uncomfortable and weird. It's like, yes, we use beef garum, and which is beef mince. It's been fermented for 3 months into that becomes like a soy sauce effectively. And it sounds absolutely gross, something cooked for 3 months at 60 degrees, but it's insanely delicious. Yeah. And we use it as a seasoning, like we do all our garums. That's just got us on the garum train. So we have mushroom garum, lamb garum, chicken wing garum. Like we're getting as many garums on as we can. So we just got we've had dishes where we don't use salt, we just use garum instead. So like salt's brilliant, but like with the garum, I can season something and make something taste more meaty or add a certain depth of richness to some like layer on those flavors. Kind of give us a really exciting larder in some respect. So my question's I've gone off on a tangent. What was the question?
You've kind of got it. It was like, how would you describe your style of food? I would say it's probably familiar flavors, but in an unfamiliar kind of presentation.
Yeah. It's either way. I mean, it's garden and farm led cooking. It's all about celebrating the British Isles. I mean, if it was like that was how I would describe it. I mean, it's hard because I want to say like those questions often like it's an Asian fusion, it's British fusion, it's modern British. It's like and I guess for myself, like if we're gonna nail it down, it would be garden and farm led British cooking, but kept in the familiar.
That sounds fair.
If someone was going to come, are you open? Like it's not. I know it's not all week, but do you open Thursday, Friday?
Yeah, so we're currently open on Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And can you come just for dinner, or because a lot of the time people say, "Oh, you have to do the whole night stay," but you can just come for dinner.
Yeah, no, you can just come for dinner. I mean, we have more tables available for people who just want to come for dinner than we do for overnight guests. So I mean, there's 2 entry points, and we also do lunch on Saturdays. So it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday dinner, and then Saturday lunch as well. But Saturday lunch is a bit is an 8-course lunch menu and a bit cheaper at £75 and kind of a bit more of an easier entry point. Like I know some people get a bit they see 15 courses and they think, oh, how can I eat 15 courses of food? But in most restaurants, even when they say like 8 or 9 course tasting menus, like you end up eating 14, 15 courses. It's all those lectures. But I just don't. I just say exactly. It's just 15 courses. It's just basically pretty much the same as a lot of other places. It's not that many more than others. But I do also very much take into account. Like I like people to feel good when they leave and not like too stuffed or overfull, and we're always working on that. There's very little, if any, starch in the menu. It's we have a bread course that's about the starchiest dish, and it's not because
hungry would be even worse.
Oh, hungry, yeah, hungry. Especially after 15 courses.
A big disaster.
That'd be the achievement after 15 courses, leave hungry. But I do really take that into account. I want people to feel content and like they can, they've enjoyed the meal, but don't feel like they're going to roll out. There's nothing worse than having an uncomfortable stomach after lots of food.
What does the night stay involve? Do you have your dinner? What do you meet out in the garden and have a talk? Do I imagine that or?
So you do check-in is at 3, and my wife Annetta is the house manager. Sorry, she meets and greets guests and gets them sat down and introduced and settled, and then Chris and Tamsin will arrange them a little welcome drink. There's often something like garden led that we've made ourselves, or an interesting drink of some sort. We have a few options, maybe just a beer if that's what you want to have, and then I have a welcome snack, and then after that we go for a garden tour. I take you on a garden tour, I'll show you around what we're growing and what we're working on, and just explain it, like just dipping into little bits of what we do, like as well with Grace Savour, all this stuff, the sustainability sounds like it could be super heavy and like some big, I'm giving you some big TED talk when you're here or something like that, but is ultimately this is somebody's birthday or anniversary or special occasion, and I've never wanted to create a restaurant that takes that away. Like it's I guess the evening, it's their evening to enjoy, and we do that by, I do a little intro of explaining what we do, and then we keep all the explanations nice and light. We focus just maybe talking about some of the mentioning the suppliers, but we don't go heavy, because if you're interested, then you can ask away. And like, as you guys can see, once you get me started, I don't tend to stop. So I just leave them the space and let them enjoy it at their pace. Because if you're interested, you're going to ask, and if you're not, then you've still been here, you're going to have a great time and taste some, hopefully have some tasty food. And then after the garden tour, and that takes them to the room, and
you have your own rooms here. It's not part of the Hampton Manor itself. You've got your own courtyard rooms.
Yes, yeah. So we have 5 garden suites, and like basically 2 in the classic hotel language, 2 are like junior suites and a master suite, and 2 regular suites.
If you've not seen them, you need to go and have a look on Instagram and have a look at them, because they're stunning.
Oh yeah,
stunning.
Yeah, good rooms.
Each one's a different. Each one has been is a reflection of a different craft style. So like whether it's the whittler and that style of wood making, or the weaver, or the ebonist, it's all different styles of wood making. And Fiona's gone out across the country to try and find these different people, and it's created some really beautiful rooms. So each one's different. Is quite different. They all got these handmade bathtubs been made by Warrington Rose, which comes with a really lovely bath ritual that's been put together by Harvest Skincare. So the whole, we do everything we can to kind of just fully immerse you. So also, I don't know what you've been going through when you come back, like when you've arrived. Like could be everything from bad traffic, childcare problems, something's gone on at work. Maybe even just had an argument before you arrived, and we just try and do everything we can to get you as relaxed as possible and just fully immersed into the surroundings, and just be able to disconnect and start having a great time from when you arrive.
Is there breakfast then in the morning or?
Yeah, so obviously after you've come for dinner, we do breakfast in the morning. It's a little 4-course breakfast we put together. I mean, again, it's not an overwhelming amount of food. We try to make sure it's right, but it's that everything's got a story, so we just give it that space to have a story. I mean, I could put everything out in front of you and go, here's your breakfast, and you're like, oh yeah, it's a good breakfast, and there's my yogurt, and there's a bit of this, and the charcuterie, my hot course, but we tried to make it all a bit of an experience, and there's an element, there's a space for a story for everything. I mean,
is it a surprise, or can you tell us a bit about what's on the menu? Is it?
Yeah, so no, gladly no. So I mean, it's just like for example, breakfast, like when honey that we use is from Maggie and Noel, and this woman has anaphylaxia, is that the right term, to bee stings.
Yeah,
she's so passionate about bees.
That's brave.
Nothing will change. Yeah, it's bonkers. But I've never met someone so passionate about honey, and it comes out in the honey. It's just phenomenal. Like you just get so excited about it, and then because the yogurt course goes, we bring down the yogurt with the honey, right? Then it gives that space to tell that story, and then like ram it down the throat. But if I just put it all out at once, you kind of miss some of those details, and that's kind of like a good example of where what that allows us to do. But onto the evening menu, we're using a lot of lamb right now, and again, like that whole animal thinking. So we have a tomato dish, which I know you've had, that has we make a juice out of the tomatoes, and then the thinking was that whenever you're making dashi, you use katsuobushi, which is smoked and dried tuna flakes. But obviously we don't really get tuna here. We thought we'd give it with smoked and dried lamb heart. We started working with Sophie Arlett, who has Lamington lamb. She's one of the only shepherds in the country that grows a lamb for flavour, and because she does that, and she crosses Hebridean with South Downs, but because she does that, she has a lamb that has a very small muscle structure and black wool, and those two things will never sell at market. So if you take your lamb to market, there's all these buyers, I have that one. All they're looking for is white wool and large muscle structure. So if you've got small, no one will touch it, even though it's sensationally delicious. Yeah. So even as a consumer, these things are happening to us all the time. Decisions of like choosing the best tasting, most nutrient dense, reared animals, that can be taken away from us just from that bureaucracy and that red tape. And obviously we source directly from her and we buy whole animals, but hearts aren't always something she sells a lot of. So we tend to take quite a lot of the hearts, like I say, smoke them and dry them, and then use that as like a katsuobushi in the tomato broth. So there's no salt in the tomato juice that we make. It's just seasoned by the lamb heart, and it just creates a really, and that's the first course we serve with a tomato that comes with tahete pickle and sweet Sicily, and it creates a very herbal, very fresh start, but because of the umami depth, it really gets your palate going. So it's a nice salty beginning as well as quite a fresh beginning. So yeah, I mean, and then we've also got, really love our lobster dish at the moment we have on, which is just half a lobster tail. One of the things I fell in love with always in Michelin Star cooking has always been like the luxuriousness of it, of just like, eat this whole truffle, like jam this caviar down your mouth. And I remember and it was a moment I had when I got treated to go and eat at Franzen in Stockholm, and they do this bit at the beginning where they slide open this door and they show you through all the produce and everything you're going to eat. And then they knew we were industry, and they brought out 3 shots of vodka and then 3 massive spoons of caviar. And I never had the combination of caviar and vodka before. So good. Like, I'm not a vodka drinker. I don't really like it at all. But it was one of those like food memories I'll always have of that. But the quantity of caviar, just like straight down your mouth, like this is just not normal to go and do this. And I love that element of luxury. And I always wanted to do a lobster serving where it's just like, you get a nice piece of lobster. You get to like really tackle a piece of lobster. I've eaten in other places where it's, again, it's so expensive. It might be chopped up or it's a little piece, but to eat a whole tail. So we do that we take the heads of the lobster and roast them off and make almost like a biscuit out of them. But rather than having tomatoes and other vegetables in it, that to concentrate the flavour, we finish it with toasted buckwheat koji, which brings a really sort of like body to it, that body of depth of flavour to it, and then the soprasata that's been made by a charcuterie company in London that only use high welfare pigs. And the soprasata is an Italian version of chorizo and has a lovely spice to it. And then we finish it with loads of lobster butter. We split it with loads of lobster butter. So it's just like really rich, intense lobster dish that's just been elevated by a little bit of spice in the soprasata, and kind of all been held up by the toasted koji. It's really, really love that. And we've also just had John was working on this dish with kohlrabi, where we cook it in brown butter and finish it with pickled elderflower and marigolds, and then the sauce is whey, smoked whey with butter, celery vinegar, and elderflower pickle and mackerel garum. So the mackerel garum is one of those cool ones. So basically, because of the guts, you take all the guts so once I fillet all the mackerel, all the guts and bones and head and everything, we blend that up with salt and then ferment it for 3 months, and you basically end up with this like a fish sauce effect. But obviously it tastes of mackerel. So this sauce, again, gets this lovely depth and richness in it that comes from mackerel rather than using salt. But the nice thing is they always throughout the menu as well, we try and create those little connections, those little closed loops. Like you got a mackerel course coming up after that, but before then you've eaten all the guts, and now you're going to eat the actual mackerel itself. And that whole sort of like that closed circle thinking, but also just like there's so many uses out of everything. Like you have the lamb heart at the beginning, and it's almost I like to think it's a precursor to the main course, which is the lamb itself. Like, you know, whether you're having the shoulder or you're having the loin, it's building up. It's building up to that, and then then the next course is a course made entirely from everything that comes from making bucks or cheese, which is made from sheep's milk. So, and obviously it's just because this is the season we're in, that's sheep and like lamb, that's what's around right now. So we're kind of leaning into a lot of that.
But it's an amazing ethos to have, and to think about a whole menu, 15 courses, and there's so many links between all the courses, and as you've just pointed out, there's so many links between them. Like, that's when you're sitting down and you're getting told about this, it makes it really interesting to eat, because you are sort of joining the dots yourself as well. Like, oh, that was from there, and that was this. Like, it adds another dimension to the experience, I think.
Yeah, I think there's an element of just trying to, again, without being forceful, just understand that there's always a human being behind everything you've done. Like, everything we eat is crafted, not just by ourselves as chefs, but also as farmers and growers, and everyone, it's just great to celebrate them. It's a real privilege to celebrate them, because they've gone through real hardship to make that happen, and to stay the path. I think it's so hard. Like, some of these guys have been laughed at for like not using this stuff, like seeing their crops die or going through struggles. But they do it because they know it's the best for the produce, and they know it's the best for our land and our environment. And they've kind of been, you know, often taking this heat on very, very low salaries, just because they love what they do. So yeah, it becomes a real privilege to kind of get to celebrate the stuff.
Did you have a bit of pressure to like do the best with them ingredients?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, as well, we get things wrong. We try stuff, and that's really sad when it goes wrong. But also, you know that if you don't try something, or if we're not testing out we're going to get our preservation things wrong. It's so like up and down. We made a elderflower kombucha that tasted like alcohol. It wasn't very nice at all. And I was like, how? Like, it wasn't even a week. Like, it should be like super sweet, and it was like literally like a elderflower vodka. It was weird. I don't even fully explain it now, and I don't even know if this is the answer, because again, you know, we're always learning. Like, we started fermenting black garlic next to it, and apparently garlic releases a gas when it's fermenting, which slows down fermentation. So if it was, you know, what my then belief is that because we had the black garlic on, that it disrupted the kombucha fermenting, and it didn't ferment right, and it just went bad. So now we know. But sadly, we lost 15 litres of elderflower kombucha, which I was heartbroken about, because obviously we're not getting that back. So yeah, it does. You do feel a sense of responsibility, and also there's a cost that comes with it. I feel like, I hope that we're always paying the right price for everything. Like, I will gladly always take the first price that I'm told, and if I can't afford that price, I'll just be honest, I can't afford that price, and we'll try and make it work in some way if we can. But because there's such value in what these guys do.
Awesome, Matt. I think we could sit here chatting about this.
I know.
I'm mad into this kind of stuff, but we've talked up like a couple of hours of your time already.
No, that's right. That's quite all right.
Was there anything else you wanted to go over before?
No. Is there anything particularly you want to add in there, or anything like? Obviously, I know I've talked a lot.
Yeah, I think you kind of like, even like I know I sent you a few bits this morning, but you kind of naturally covered it before I had to ask you, so it's all good.
It's the perfect guest, mate.
Oh, that's good. I just feel like, this guy's talking, isn't he?
Well, people hear us talk. They're sick of that.
The worst podcast ever would be if it's just me and Carl talking, and like the guest talks like 3 times. That'd be I probably wouldn't even release it. You got your questions, or?
Yeah, I've got my quick. I'm not going to stop calling them quick. They're not quick. I've got questions that are about you.
Of course. Yeah.
Please feel free to answer them quickly.
Just a fun way to end the podcast.
Yeah, gladly.
What's your favourite movie?
Oh, no, I've listened to your podcast and I knew you were going to ask this, and I've not prepared myself.
Actually, no. What was the movie they showed you in America that they paid to make you stay behind and watch?
Oh, great question.
Whiplash.
It was Whiplash. That's a great movie.
It
What
is.
is that? What is it?
Oh,
The
man.
drumming one about the college in America.
Yeah.
It was, but the thing is, honestly, like, and it resonated. I knew what he's talking about when it comes to that, because not that Don't get me wrong on this, crystal clear. That is not how it should be. It's incredibly abusive. But one thing it taught me, and I think this is like some of the things, the reflections that I wanted to understand. Why did I go through that? Why do I accept that? And there is that element in that movie where that guy is just so determined. He's got into his head that this is the way that I'll learn how to drum if I follow and lead this guy. And there's a level of leadership that comes in, which is which is a very toxic one, where you blindly follow your leader. And as a leader, you never want that. You never want people to blindly follow you, because they'll never pick up your mistakes. You'll basically, as a leader, I'm flying blind because my team will do whatever I say. And that's ultimately where he was at, and became so driven to become to the point where, obviously seeing how it goes in the movie, like it almost breaks him. Yeah, I think it's one of those things where I think it made me one of those moments like, where would be my limit?
Yeah.
Like, what would have been that point? I just said no and walked off. That's a bit that probably might scare me. I mean, I think I collapsed running a half marathon in Oslo. That was one of those moments where I kind of got a bit shaken up, because I was like, I've always thought I could persevere through anything in my head, like just keep going, just keep your head down, keep going, it's going to be okay. But we have limits, and I think that's what that movie's all about. It's like, what happens if you try to become limitless, and what ends up.
Do you know that was actually him playing the drums in every scene as well?
Is it?
Yeah, he used to be a drummer.
Really?
And he just practiced and practiced and practiced to get it, which again is that dedication.
Yeah,
in the film.
yeah, that's amazing.
The actor to do it, to actually
Oh,
play
that's
them
actually
things,
insane.
yeah.
That's amazing.
What's your favourite band or artist, DJ, rapper? Whatever.
I would say recent times, a guy called Asgeir is an Icelandic singer-songwriter. Really love his stuff. But Block Party has always been a big... I always love Block Party. But they're a bit different now. Very, very different now, I think.
I actually prefer them now.
I haven't really heard
Mad.
so
I
much
like
of
the really early stuff. Then the middle stuff I sort of was a bit indifferent to. And then the new stuff, it's like, well, where's this come from?
Yeah.
What's your favourite big fast food chain?
Ooh.
Someone that's just on about sustainability, it's probably not the best question.
Like, which is the right answer? You're like, this is the worst quickfire answers ever.
It's not.
No. I was really, because I can't really do McDonald's, because my stomach. I get really bad stomach off McDonald's. I actually know one, but it's not here. It's not here, and I wish it was.
Fine.
It's a Swedish one called Max Burger.
Yeah.
I love that. Their burgers they were so good. And obviously, I think it's just Swedish people and Norwegian people right now like, Max Burger. But genuinely, I'm like, Max Burger's delicious. They're like sauces. Sauces are different, and like the meat, everything's a bit different. The setup's a bit different in the burger. So yeah, and we used to often after service at Mimo, we go and max out at Max Burger. So yeah.
What's your favourite dish you cook at home?
Oh, I love spaghetti, prawns, chili. I don't want it, spaghetti alla mongole is the name of it, but it's something that Annette and I used to have all the time. We always have like some frozen prawns in the freezer. It's super fast. Chili, prawns, egg yolk. I love it. Love it, love it, love it.
And what's your favourite food destination in the world?
Oh, it's tough, but it's definitely between Lyon and Copenhagen. And I'd probably, if I was like, where would you go tomorrow? It would be Copenhagen. Like, it's just so much good food there. So much, because there's so many interesting things happening and such a variance. But food I had in Lyon was amazing. But I understand super, super classic food may not be for everyone, but Lyon, I still, have great memories of Lyon. And Chicago was great as well. There's too many good places. Too many good places. But yeah, Copenhagen probably, if I was like, where I go tomorrow.
Awesome.
Done.
Thank you very much for coming on.
Oh, my pleasure.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Absolutely love this place, man. Love what you're doing. Just keep grafting, man. I think we said when we came here, we feel like this is on the edge of doing something very special.
It does. It's definitely got, not to compare it to anywhere else because it feels unfair to, but it feels like this has got another level to it that it's got a special vibe about it, I think.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
We both were so impressed when we were here.
Massively.
I feel. I mean, it's like I feel very humbled to be in the Birmingham food scene. It's like there's so many exciting things going on, and it's like everyone's doing their thing, and it's just this. It feels very privileged to be in this food scene. So I'm very humbled by this as well. I really appreciate that, and like I say, like we just loving what we're doing.
Awesome. Thanks, Chef.
Thank you.
Cheers, guys.